Hey,
Hey guys,
hey, how are you?
Hello.
how's it going?
Good. I'm Abdullah. This is Arav. This is Rishi. They're all in my AP Lit class, and we just want to thank
Awesome.
you so much for taking the time to do this.
Yeah, you bet.
So, our project in AP Lit is to create and explore a thesis. So, my thesis is exploring the structure of narrative and storytelling, especially with tension stories, slow burners, kind of your speciality. So, I wanted to ask you 6 questions to help us explore this topic.
Sure.
So, first one is your books are very atmospheric. You can be involved in the setting very easily. When you're building a scene, do you see those sensory details as just decoration, or are they deliberately scaffolding and methodically building up like a tension of a story?
Definitely the latter. I've always loved books with a strong sense of place, where place is almost a character in the story. And place is very important to me. I'm a very sensory person. Sights, sounds, smells in particular. Just all of those things really add to my sense of a place. And so I always just include that in my writing because it's one of the most vivid and vibrant ways that I experience the world. And so I figure my best storytelling is going to come from me telling a story in the way that I most relate to, in the way that I most vividly experience the world.
Right. Okay. You're also a musician, right?
I used to be. I really I don't do much with music anymore, but I used to be.
Right.
Sure.
In songwriting, it's obviously very like specific for orders of verses and choruses to build to like a vibe or a feeling of a song.
Uh huh.
In your novels, how much do you think about discourse or like the order in which you reveal certain details?
I think about it some. Um, I try to go into a story with an idea about the structure so that I'm not just sort of, flying blind and stuff is happening willy nilly.
Yeah.
I try to have a sense for the general shape of the story. I try to mete out details uh, enough, like a little trail of breadcrumbs, right? Enough to keep the reader turning pages, not enough to give away the whole game. Now, I'm not a big like twist writer. I don't write like these very like big thrillers or twists where people are like, oh whoa, I didn't know
Yeah.
they were the murderer. That's just not the kind of stories I write. Um, but yeah, I definitely do like to consider structure so that I'm doling out enough to keep the story moving along at a compelling pace, but not too much that I give away the whole game.
Right. So that actually kind of like leads to another question I had. How do you balance the climb of pressure and slow burners so it doesn't plateau but it also doesn't feel rushed?
Ah, gosh. So much of what I do is just by instinct. I just kind of play it by ear. I do a little bit of planning and outlining when I'm writing, kind of making notes as to where a story is going to go. But other than that, I just sort of feel it. I just do what feels right. And, I consume a lot of stories. I'm a big fan of TV. I'm a big fan of movies. I'm a big fan of novels, obviously.
Yeah.
So I just consume a lot of stories. And when you do that, you just kind of acquire a sense of pacing, a sense for when things should be revealed. Um, Stories generally tend to follow certain timelines, certain shapes. And so you kind of internalize those shapes as you consume more stories.
Okay. Is the when of a revelation sometimes more important than the revelation itself?
Is the what now?
Is the when, like when something's revealed, can that be more important than what's being revealed itself? Like the
Yeah,
deeper
I
meaning behind
think
it?
so. Because a lot of times, particularly in my books, the revelation might not be like an objectively huge revelation,
Yeah.
right? It's not like, oh, he was a ghost the whole time. It's not like that. Um, it's quieter. It's more like, yeah, I've loved you for years. you have to make sure that you've established the groundwork for that revelation to be meaningful to the characters in the story. As long as it's meaningful to the characters in the story and your readers identify with those characters, it's going to be meaningful for your reader. Yeah, I would say when is more important than what.
Okay.
But also,
Yeah.
you've got to do the work. You've got to do the groundwork to build those characters to where the what is important, whatever it may be.
Okay. There's a lot of beauty in what your characters don't say to each other, but how much do you trust your readers to fill in the gaps or like let their imaginations kind of play around with the thought before it's finally settled?
Quite a bit. I mean, I'm a big believer that the worst writing comes from writers not trusting their readers. I think readers tend to be really intelligent and sophisticated, and you have to trust them. And I particularly trust them when I want them to idealize something. So when I want them to imagine like a love interest character being so beautiful or so handsome, I won't describe them very much because I want the reader to be free to insert an image from their own mind that's like the most beautiful or handsome person they've ever seen.
So it's like their own thinking.
Say what now?
So it's like their own thinking embedded in what you're trying to show.
Exactly. So in my first book, my character is a songwriter, but I never include his song lyrics in the book because then he's only as good as the song lyrics that are in
the book.
But if I don't include them, then you can just substitute in like the most brilliant lyrics you can imagine, right?
Yeah, it would have more meaning to the reader, I guess, because it's more personal.
Yep.
Okay. In my AP Lit class by Mrs. Feldkamp, we talk a lot about universal archetypes. Do you ever feel like you're tapping into those universal human patterns or fears, things you don't have to really explain to an audience?
Yeah, for sure. I think that's kind of unavoidable as storytellers. I mean, there are archetypal narrative structures, there are archetypal character types, and they just tend to repeat in story after story. And I think we as human beings, I mean, you could really go deep with this and, posit evolutionary, reasons for why we hold these archetypes. But the fact is that we do hold these archetypes, and they're unavoidable. And I don't, frankly, try to avoid them. I don't presume for a second that any of my stories are narratively unique or any of my characters are unique. I'm perfectly happy to use archetypal characters, archetypal narrative structures. It's why we love stories. We love things that are familiar to us. We love some sense of familiarity about stories. We want to be surprised some, but we also want we want that familiarity that using archetypes provides.
Right. Another question I had is, in Serpent King or in The Wildlight, your endings always feel like a exhale, like a natural ending. Do you intentionally plant the seeds of that early on in the subtext, or do you let the natural tension of the characters dictate where it's going to go?
I mean, it's kind of both. I generally have an idea when I start a book how it's going to end. Because it's really scary to me to get out into the wilderness of a story without any idea about how it's going to end. So I tend to have some notion of how it's going to end before I even start. So I can be consciously or usually unconsciously building toward that ending.
Right. Have you ever written a story, and as you continue to write, you explore the character more and maybe you change your mind about some endings or what a character would or wouldn't do?
Yes, maybe not the global ending of the story, but definitely like the arc of the character themselves. Every one of my books, there's been at least one character who's kind of elbowed their way to the front of the story and said, no, I'm a much more important character than you're giving me credit for, than you're giving me life in the story. You need to treat me as a more important character. That's happened in every single one of my books so far.
Okay. Now I want to ask you some quick fire questions, if that's all right, just for fun.
Sure.
Okay, so I saw online that You once said you made your wife cry by the ending of a book. Is that true?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. I don't remember
um,
saying that, but it is true, so I probably said it.
on a scale from 1 to 10, how much do you actually enjoy it when a reader tells you that the ending of your book ruined their life for a week?
Oh, 10, 11. I love it. That's my favorite thing. That's why I write books.
What is the official snack or drink that fuels a Jeff Zentner writing session?
Ooh, Coke Zero.
Coke Zero, okay. Oh, this is actually an interesting question. Is there one specific word you find yourself overusing in your drafts?
Oh, yeah, for sure there is. I mean, it kind of changes from book to book. Um, it's really easy to overuse the word just. Like every time you write, or what you need to do is like do a control F and do just and find like all of the 120 times you've used the word just and cut out like 117 of them.
Yeah. Um, Obviously, you used to do music, so what would you rather choose? A sold out stadium tour where you're the number one rock star, or write the next great American novel?
Write the next great American novel. I loved music, but writing books is so much more low key than being a musician. Being a musician is crazy. It's hectic. You got to get up your energy to be in front of a crowd every night. And I love the quiet life of a writer, man. It's great.
Would you ever do music again?
Nah. I'm much better at writing. I have much more success at writing. So I'm going to do what the universe has steered me toward.
Do you ever feel bad for like a character when you're writing them in a tragic scene?
Yeah, for sure. And it's a real temptation as an author to not be hard on your characters because these are entities that live in your mind and they become like your
You
kids.
come
You don't want to make your
attached,
kids
yeah.
suffer, but you have to, right? Nobody wants to read a story where there's no tension, where there's no struggle, where there's no suffering.
Yeah. What is one trope you are officially banning from literature forever?
What is one trope I'm
Trope,
officially
sorry.
banning from literature forever? Ah, I don't know, man. I don't know. There's not really one that just totally annoys me that I like can't deal with.
Yeah, okay. And one last final question. In 3 words, how would you describe the Jeff Zentner brand of storytelling?
Um, Poetic and sad. Wait, did I need 3 words?
3 words, yeah.
Poetic, sad, and hopeful. How about that?
Sad and hopeful.
Yeah. Well, let's do melancholy. Melancholy's let's poetic, melancholy, hopeful.
Beautiful. Thank you so much for taking the time to help us on our thesis.
Yeah. Yeah,
Uh,
you bet, guys. Have a good weekend.
Thank you.
you
Thank
too,
you.
man. Thank you so much.
All right. Take care. Bye bye.
Bye.
Bro's a trout.
Yo, what is a trop, bro? What is a trop?
Bro's a trout. Was it a 4 AI word, Abdullah? Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful.
Oh my god.
How's it go, bro? That guy's actually my favorite author.
It's actually
He's actually so good,
imagine if, like he did like doctor and we had him for a host something. We'd have like a really good time.
Like,
Bro,
I'm
but it
gonna-
actually go so good like it's to like speaking to people. I don't know how to say it.
you are.
Like not random people, like when you have like a specific person you know you will talk to, like you're actually good at speaking.
yeah, when I have to lock in, yeah.
On the spot you like suck at it. But like when you know you're gonna speak with this person, you lock in.
You see me moving my pecs, bro?
But
I can't
bro,
see
you
it.
were
I can't
killing
even-
me, bro. Like I was trying not to laugh so hard.
Wait, what was I doing?
Bro, it's just your dumb face like muting and unmuting over and over again.
We can't see your chest. We can only see like your neck part.
What? You can see me just?
Now we can't because you moved up.
Oh.
But the quality sucks. We can't even see like.
No.
Are you gonna stay or you gonna go?
I'm gonna stay for like 5 minutes, 10 minutes.
I'm gonna go take a shit after. Bro, this guy started dying of laughter. I couldn't control it.
My camera, bro.
After you mispronounced that word, I couldn't control it anymore.
Dude, I was like laughing at the start, and then I realized this guy was actually genuinely like a good guy, so I like stopped laughing.
Yeah. Bro, like, I love how he didn't take it too seriously. He was just calm.
Yeah, he was calm the entire time.
He was so chill. It was hot too.
Okay, so while I wait for the video to export, I'm going to do a reflection of how I think the meeting went. I think it was very insightful. It was very interesting because he also connected to what I was arguing about: unconscious writing, unconscious storytelling. He was saying, and this connects to the research about Dr. Young and Sims about implicit and unconscious cues in storytelling. He was talking about that and how he uses that to create tension, how he has a global plan of how things are going to go, and he gradually scales up and up and up to meet that. I think that he also touched on what Haven Kendall said. I think that a lot of our research happened to be what he was talking about, so I think that that was another plus. Some of what he said, he pretty much said yes to all of our questions, in the sense that yes, details or decorations and stories are used as scaffolds. He said yes when that, like, the when of a story is sometimes more powerful than the what, or things that aren't told between two characters, that unconscious connection, letting theories build in the audience, trusting the readers. These are all cues and techniques and storylines that I've been writing about in the essay. Even terms I didn't mention, he was defining without even talking about it, like indices or temporal distortion, like things he wrote, things I wrote about, things I discovered through research. He was pretty much paraphrasing because I guess he's so connected and aligned. I think that Jeff was the perfect person to interview because he's a musician too. The books he's written, Serpent King and etc., they're not, as he says in the video, they're not like twists, but they're slow burners, they're tension building, they're deep, and it's not just all in your face. You have to unconsciously and consciously, follow along, but also play your own game. It's a very interesting dynamic. He was also very honest when talking about the archetypes. Like he understood that he can fall into original archetypes, make it his own story, which is, I have a whole paragraph in my annotated bibliography about universal archetypes and how, even that goes back to Jung, or what some other researchers I was looking at, what they said, how all stories are connected through these archetypes and how authors can manipulate these to what they're trying to convey, what they're trying to show. I forget who it was, I think it was Haven Kendall's Waking Space. It's the same thing as what he was saying about giving the audience space to have their own interpretations. How in one of his stories, one of the first stories he wrote, it was about a songwriter, but he didn't actually mention any of the songs. So the songwriter is only as good as what you were imagining, not what you were told. And that can build a tension later on, that can help dictate naturally a story. Asked how do you write it in the sense where the climax doesn't plateau, it doesn't feel rushed, how do you find balance in writing, how do you manipulate syntax, all these things. I think that even without, I didn't really mention an ounce of research, and he already covered it all, which is perfect. This is exactly what I wanted. And he was a chill, nice guy too. So I think that went perfectly. As maybe more detailed in reflection, he related to almost all of my research points. I had obviously a script prepared. Not a script, but I had 6 questions with their own sub-questions that I wanted to ask, and how I even say in my essay how they're linked, how they're related. And he just check. It was amazing. So I couldn't have planned it better. Yeah, I'm happy with it.